Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's gonna really be the first of all? No, not me. I write my own lyrics and I make my own beats, yeah, and I tell you that's peace. I don't ever go to work, I just go and take a seat. Then write another hook in my MacBook.
I was born ready. But what's going on, everybody? I'm the one, the only, the W-O-O-K-I-E. Joined here by the normal cast of misfits. I got my left-hand man, Cole Robbie.
What's up?
Everyone's favorite red shirt and that creepy kid in your science class, Dexter.
Hello, everybody.
And Felix is back.
I guess I'm a right-hand man this time?
Yeah, why not? Seems fair, right?
Are you saying you need two hands?
I mean, not for everything.
I mean, you can't, well, that's subjective.
Yeah, not for everything. But for some things, you do need two hands. Anyway, got some stuff and things to go over for you this week, as Cole likes to call it, the article-sodes. A couple of articles released today. No, one was released a few days ago. One was released today.
Yeah, the big important one was released today.
So we're going to go through the quick one. Again, it's just more stuff about the Tumult Championships. They got a nice little link in there for if you want to find your local Tumult Championships. And contacting your stores to see if they're participating. And a judge quiz. Ooh. Judge quiz. Ooh.
I like those.
I like the judge quiz. Just filled it out. Got a 23 out of 28.
Yeah. What do you need to...
Interesting questions there.
How do you pass?
24 or better is like... You're definitely a good judge. And I think more than 18 is like pretty solid understanding, but maybe need to like brush up on the rules a little bit more before being a judge, is what they said.
Yeah, they have a rubric built onto it.
Do they have, like, where do I go? Like, if I were like, I want to be a judge, like, where would I go find them?
Nope.
So, not yet, but what is happening is they just hired Cedric, who is the organized play director out in Paris, and he is beginning work on the judge program, and that's kind of what this is a start of. So
who is their organized play director for North America?
Justin.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I was like, I wonder who's on the base ground here for the United States of A.
Yep, it's Justin. He's usually at all of the conventions. Super cool dude. We've talked about him a couple times, talked to him a couple times myself, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the Tumult article is just kind of a recap and some information and reminders for stores, and then that judge quiz, as you said. But the big kahuna is the one that actually dropped today, which is the mid-season patch.
Yeah, some interesting information in here. So we start off with the state of the game. Trial by Frost has been out for almost 2 months now, and we're thrilled with how well it's been received. Many cards have found their home into existing deck lists, leading to the rise of new strategies. Competitive events, both online and in-store, are showcasing a wide variety of factions and heroes. To give you a snapshot in today's metagame, we've pulled a few numbers from current Season 2 on Board Game Arena. So, nice little spread here, actually. I was actually quite surprised with how the spread is. So, going from, I guess, top to bottom, Ysmir is pulling in about 20%, a little over. Bravos 19, Ortis 18. I feel like that's a big fall from grace for them. No, just me? Okay. Well,
It
Waru,
is.
Waru and Matt.
It is now with Waru being gone completely.
Yeah, they actually
At literally the least hero out of all of them.
They break it down. Sigismar and Wingspan 14, Gulrang and Toxin 3.4, Waru and Mac 1%.
Yep. I loved seeing Gulrang having a higher percentage than Waru. But yeah, This is the BGA stats, and from what I understand, they take it as a whole. And on the bottom of the graph here, it says data collected on Board Game Arena between January 31st and March 21st. So I think the meta is the healthiest it's ever been.
I was going to say, I mean, it's a pretty healthy meta. Muna at 15, Lyra at 14, Axiom at 11. I mean, that's a decent spread.
Yeah, a lot of people will complain about certain heroes being present too much, but it is nowhere near what it was like back when Waru was
ruled the world.
I will say this isn't exactly saying this is the meta decks. This is just the ones that are most played. So it's more of like a scale of popularity. So it's possible that Axiom is even weaker in the meta, and there's just people that enjoy Axiom and play it regardless of its strength, and that's why its numbers are that high.
Very possible.
One day y'all are going to have to explain to me this obsession with losing. I don't really get it, but, you know.
I personally hate losing, but I'm just saying there are people out there that are fine with losing and will just play what they want and enjoy it, even if they know it sucks and it's very difficult to win.
Yeah,
with. And I think there are definitely some Axiom players that fall into that category.
I built a random Nevenka deck 2 weeks ago, and I lost to a starter deck. I felt pretty bad, but it was fun.
Again, this is
Rolling dice
weird.
is fun.
This is weird territory. I've never had fun in a losing match. But
how often do you just run games on an online client? Because that doesn't really exist for Keyforge. So,
I mean, it does.
I run games on TCO all the time, Kohlrabi. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen,
I've played probably 20 games of Keyforge online this week, and I've only played probably 5 games of Altered, just because Keyforge is a lot faster.
Yeah, you cannot pull the wool over my eyes any longer, because now I am an official Keyforge player. You cannot queue up on TCO and just run games back to back.
I do. I 100% do that, Kohlrabi.
Depending on the time of day, yeah, you can.
Sometimes there's nobody else on, but 90% of the time I get on and I make a game. Someone joins within a few minutes.
So, what was that word you just used there?
Minutes.
Which word?
Minutes. You make a game?
Yeah.
So
you make a lobby.
My point stands. It's like Carabast. Like the Crucible Online is like Carabast. It's not like Hearthstone or Snap or something where you just click a button and it matches you someone. And
it doesn't do that. No, you are 100% correct on.
Yeah. So these stats, viewing them from that lens, is whether it's arena or play or whatever, is like an online matchmaking data set.
Yeah, no, there's nothing like that in Keyforge.
There's not that much ELO matchup specific. I've played like people that are like really low ELO or really high ELO, and then arena. You're not necessarily matched up with people that are in the same division as you. It maybe has a little bit of that matchmaking aspect, but very little in my experience.
Either way, get back to the article. What do you say? Everybody agree?
I say no.
You say nay?
we're
gonna do it anyway. So, most played faction was Ysmir 20.3, released at Axiom 11.4. Each faction representing with the top 6 most played heroes of the season. Going top to bottom, Sigismar and Wingspan, Tasia and Nara, Afanas and Senka, Kojo and Boda, Fen and Crowbar, Sierra and Oddball. Nice little spread there. 2 cards from Trial by Frost have joined the ranks of the most played cards in their faction. The Frozen Delivery Common and Haven oh man, I hate this card. Sarengar, thank you, at Common, have joined that little list. So kind of cool there. Hathor for Lyra, Muna Druid, Teamwork Training, and Off You Go are still tops for their respective clans or factions. So I'm a numbers guy. I don't know about you guys. I like looking at the numbers and kind of being like, oh, okay, these are interesting. These are fun.
Mm-hmm. Numbers are good.
I do like looking at that, but something that caught my eye in this whole little article. It's not a very incredibly long article, but some things when I was scrolling through and I'm kind of just perusing, right? Introducing the watch list. You guys ready for this one?
Before I go to that, I thought it was interesting how some of the most popular cards are all common.
I mean, that would make the most sense, no? Considering it's a game where you have to have the most commons.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much has to be common, I think. Just because more people have commons.
I wonder if they didn't have the build restriction they did, if that would be the same. I don't know, because I suppose some of these cards, like Off You Go, might end up being rare. But because it's, kind of, they've deemed it a staple, they put it at common. That way it's able to go in more decks.
Well, you also got to think rares are harder to obtain as well.
Yeah, and with the deck building process, a lot of the thinking part is like, which 15 rare slots do I want to use? Right. And pretty much everyone has agreed these 6 commons are staple commons, and they're good in all decks across all factions. And there's no reason to not run them, and the rare does not have enough increased value, but these are just strong cards. But there's more discrepancy between the rares, and some rares are better than others in certain decks. Like, if you're running Tasia, you're going to want to run different rares than if you're running Ren. So the commons just have
added flexibility.
Yeah, flexibility is a good word.
I'm just wondering how they're getting their statistics, if they're doing it by the number of that card being used, or is it the number of decks that had that card in it?
I think it's the number of decks. It says most played.
Most played.
Mm-hmm.
That actually is.
I would say the most total, probably.
From
most commons people will run 3 of.
Yeah. And then rares are like 2 and 1, and then you split it up to try to get the 15 spread.
That is an interesting question.
I think based off of the last time they did this, it is specifically like played. But I don't know.
It makes me think that the data can be skewed that way. It's just out of curiosity, mostly.
It could be. I mean, the data exists for both, whether the card was played or just in the deck. But all of these cards as well, if you have them in your deck, you're absolutely playing them almost no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, too. I mean, you are going through a good chunk of your deck before the end of the game, so...
Well, and then none of these cards are cards you would want to mana. Like, if the only time I'm manaing, like, any of these cards is if I, for some reason, get 2 or 3 in my opening hand.
Or I have, like, a handful of uniques and rares that are better.
Yeah.
Like, these are the commons that you keep if you have commons.
I don't know. As being liar, I don't know if I'm keeping a Hathor, but maybe I am.
I've been using Hathor in every single build I make.
Yep, it's one of the best cards in Lyra.
Yep, I mean, it is. I'm not going to disagree with you, but that's an interesting question. I think it delves a little more thought. But let's talk about the watch list. So we understand the impact that suspensions and erratas can have on players' collection and competitive play. To minimize unexpected surprises when you read our announcements, we're introducing the watch list. We aim for transparency in all of our communications, so letting you know which cards and decks we're monitoring feels like the right thing to do. The watch list is a simple list of common, rare, and unique cards. While discussions around the watch list may reference certain heroes or deck archetypes, only those heroes' abilities who are the center of concern will be included. Therefore, if a deck archetype is under review, we'll focus on the specific cards driving the archetype dominance, and we'll add them to the watch list if necessary. When a card joins the watch list, it doesn't mean that it will be suspended or receive an erratum. It simply means we're aware of performance in the current metagame and are monitoring it to determine that it's causing any issues. I guess I'll finish out the watch list thing first because I have some questions on this. But
Yeah.
why would a card join the watch list? A card would be added to the watch list for several reasons. It undermines the gameplay experience we want for our players. It is a crucial part of an archetype that is too dominant in competitive play. The card has a win rate too high. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Waru.
Oh, I was like, did you just attack one of my favorite cards? Please don't. The card has a win rate too high without an adequate counter in the current metagame. It's become an auto-include in many decks, narrowing deck building strategies. And you can learn more. They have a little thing about their philosophies, which they went in with Robin Hood type deal. Cards on the watch list are closely monitored by our game design and playtest team. We'll continue working on them until we decide to take action or conclude that they aren't creating an issue. Our playtests also consider upcoming sets to ensure we are ahead of the curve. As a quick disclaimer, a card we've previously discussed as not needing to be on the watch list in one of our communications or AMAs may be added to the watch list if we find it has a greater impact on the meta than originally anticipated. The possible outcomes for cards on the watch list: suspensions while we work on the erratum, receiving an erratum in a future season patch, becoming removed from the watch list without any changes. Note that we may reserve the right to suspend a card in an emergency patch if we believe the situation calls for it. However, the watch list system is designed to help us avoid this as much as possible, and this will only be used as a last resort. Now, do we have too many damn lists? That's my next question. Do we need to be aware of what they're looking for?
So the watch list already exists even without them telling us, though. It's just becoming public now.
How so?
So in general, just by experience, all different card games all have a watch list. Magic the Gathering has it all the time, especially when it came to, like, for example, Commander and so on. But now they're talking about adding stuff to the watch list. It makes me think that it's becoming a public list, so people know what the company is looking at.
Is that a good or a bad thing, though?
It's great, because now we get to know what they're looking at specifically that might get erratas in the future, so we don't invest all in on uniques and then lose all our money.
Yep. What Dexter said, it's there really should be no way to complain about this because it's just giving people more information and more heads up. And it's kind of a direct response to how people reacted when Robin Hood was errated. And to Felix's point, whether they tell us or not, there's always going to be like an internal watch list of like cards that the game developers are like, ooh, this one's looking a little too much. That exists before the set even comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't disagree with you.
They already mentioned it before. Like, for example, with Waru, they mentioned that they were afraid of what is going to happen in a couple of sets ahead. If I remember way back when they errated him. So that already gave it an idea that it already existed, which makes sense.
All right. So here's my issue. It just seems like there's a lot of lists, right? Like we have our like banned and restricted lists now too. I mean, and I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Felix. Like the watch list has kind of always been a thing, right? And like if you're in the scene, you kind of just knew, like, oh yeah. See, that's my thing with Robin Hood. Like, I don't know, maybe this is a lot of people's first time into like a competitive card game. But at the same time, but at the same time, it's like, so for those of us who have been around for a while, we're like, yeah. Like, I saw it a mile away that something was going to happen to Robin Hood, and it was going to be a huge sway. I know Z, and then we're talking like, oh, like, they're just going to do this little thing. It's like, no, they're going to sway it big time. Because whenever a card becomes that disruptive and that meta-changing and that game-breaking, almost every time in card games, they completely swing it the other direction, and it's on purpose.
Yeah. So you're telling me you didn't go out and spend $800 on a Robinhood unique 2 days before they announced the errata?
No, I did
He
not
Well-
doesn't blame
because
Well, people
even-
did.
well, and I don't understand that because even Stevie Wonder saw that shit coming.
Yeah. So
There's-
this list is for those people who did things like that and then complained. Honestly, a lot of this stuff, like especially if you're a casual player, doesn't really matter for the most part, besides the fact that some cards that you have in paper may be changed when you sit down to play. But either one of two things happens. You casually still play it the old way and nobody cares. Or someone tells you, hey, that card's been changed, and then you play it the new way. It's not a huge deal.
And then your day is
Casually.
ruined.
I
Maybe.
guess.
I mean,
Maybe.
I don't know, but like it just seems like there's a lot of lists coming out, and it's like,
We have the ban list, we have the suspension list, we have the watch list. I'm not sure if an errata can be considered a list, but I
Yeah.
mean, they do exist.
it just seems like there's a lot going on, and it's like,
You could get ban players list in the future.
Yeah, I'm
for
sure.
all I know.
I'm sure
It does
you'll
exist
end
in Pokemon and other card games too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, every competitive TCG will eventually have a banned players list. I think that goes without saying.
Star Wars just started working on theirs, so
There's
yeah,
also that, and if their alternating formats becomes a thing, they could have a list too.
Yeah. It just seems
Yeah.
like there's a lot going on, and my fear, whenever a card game becomes very list heavy, right, where it's like, oh, this, that, and there becomes too much going on in the background, it's normally not a good sign.
it's nowhere near Digimon yet, so it's fine.
I have no idea about Digimon. Is Digimon in a bad state?
Oh boy,
Yeah, oh boy.
you don't want to go. You don't want to go in there.
Yeah, so part of this is people were complaining that Altered has already changed too many cards too quickly, which is funny.
And that's kind of how I feel. Is like we've changed a lot, and we're not even out of year one yet.
Which is funny because the other side is people saying they didn't change enough fast enough. So there's like a split here. But I compared because people were trying to tell me like this doesn't happen in TCGs very often, and I was like, I know you're wrong. And I pulled up reference like errata lists. Digimon's is literally like the scroll bar is
That's pretty bad.
like a fifth of the size that you see on this this article right here. Yu-Gi-Oh's is actually pretty good, but I've heard it's not the full one. And then just every game has them, and it maybe even would blow your mind to know that Altered has way more than you even know about.
I mean, I wouldn't. Would I? Not really. To be, if I'm being
I think
honest.
the problem with something like Digimon, for example, it's a non-rotating game, so that errata list is going to stay big, and it's just going to get bigger. But when you have games like, for example, Pokemon that have an actual rotating format, and they're actually not currently supporting the older formats, the erratum doesn't matter at that point. It only matters to the specific standard format.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't understand, Felix. Other TCGs don't ever do this. Even though there's been TCGs that have errated a card before it even came out.
Well, the only thing we're
doesn't
saying is
happen.
like I think it's I don't think they're saying it doesn't happen, but I can
No,
feel like
they are.
okay, well,
Not you specifically, but people.
like I feel like this
people
is
in
a
the Discord.
lot very quickly,
Yeah.
and that's just a feel. You know,
I think the fact that the list exists now is good because if it becomes a norm now, later during the lifespan of the game, everybody knows that it exists, and we have
Right.
the app.
but it also
official app
can
that
be
goes with it.
used. I feel like them like, oh, like here's what we're watching out for, and players can just be like, oh, don't use that card so much because they're gonna errata it, and we want it to stick around. Which I don't know, maybe that's a good or a bad thing. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's more of a good thing than a bad thing because it lets the meta shift in so many ways.
Interesting.
Because right now we're seeing, for example, well, we're just getting ahead. I think we need to wait for later for the article to circle back to this. Because the watch list is at the bottom.
All right, so should we go through the updates on the current suspension list?
Yeah.
Hey, I was like, not everybody at once. Yay!
Listen,
right.
I gave you guys the heads up that I'm gonna try not to talk as much because my mouth really hurts.
Oh, I was gonna say, are you getting a lot of complaints like Cole talks too much? Like I've never heard that. Oh, okay.
I have a very fun issue with chronic canker sores, and my mouth is all fucked up right now. So
that sounds like fun.
You just need Dexter to take my position.
Let's go, Dexter.
Everything.
Red shirt on it. Jump on that landmine.
What do I need to do?
Oh my god!
Sure. He's not even.
We're doomed. We're doomed.
Go to the bathroom. I wasn't paying attention.
You're podcasting in the John.
He was playing Keyforge.
Oh jeez. All right. The following changes are effective starting March 21st, 2025 on Board Game Arena and in-store and competitive play. The website will be updated to reflect these changes shortly. Players may still use pre-errata versions of the card, providing they disclose any changes to their opponent and allow them to access the relevant information by scanning the card. Ozma has been errated. Originally, it played from anywhere. If you control 3 or more other characters, you draw a card. It has been errated to if you control 3 or more other characters, resupply. Okay, this is the common version. I should probably reference that.
Yeah, the rare's the exact same. It just has the stat bump.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Where's the stat bump?
The
it just
common
has
is
one more mountain and one more water.
Yeah. So this one seemed kind of weird on the outside for me. And I was like, I could see how it's maybe still good because it's really easy and it doesn't say non-token characters, so it also counts tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Blue, infamous Ortis player, if it's still a good card in Ortis to him, and he said, yeah, like the common is absolutely still a run, especially because Ortis doesn't really have resupply options. And it's just, yeah, it's still a good card.
Yeah, I think this is still very good. Resupply does seem kind of weird in Ortis just because it doesn't have anything else there. And it seems like out of place thematically. But I think it's a pretty solid errata, like strength-wise. And I think pretty much all Ortis decks will run it, but it is definitely weaker than the old version. I think they could have made it a little bit weaker, but this is fine, in my opinion.
I think it opens a couple of things. So before you'll be able to draw a card, you get a double use of something. Now it's a resupply, which means once you play her, your opponent gets to see what you resupply, so it can get sabotaged, so you lose it completely. At the same time, it's an extra card that you're going to have at dusk, so you're going to have to discard extra cards. But it does open an avenue that if you run really random cards to support abilities, it does give you those support abilities too.
Yep.
All right. So in our last season patch, we suspended Ozma because it provided easy access to card advantage and order strategies, allowing the creation of a very low-curve decks with significant trade-offs. Its mana cost of 2, being able to draw a card twice, was simply too powerful. When working on Ozma Erratum, we aim to maintain its core identity of providing card advantage, while adjusting its power level with minimal changes. For Ozma, that meant keeping the Ortis identity of requiring 3 or more characters. We aim to limit changes to just one aspect of the card, whether it's mana cost, stats, or effect, by replacing draw a card with resupply. We maintain access to card advantage, but at a significantly reduced power level. Resupply also requires player to be more strategic in managing their reserve to avoid discarding excess cards at night. Bam. All right, the Bastion. Back again, I see. Just can't get rid of this Haven Bastion, can we? So the old version was it's a landmark resupply. Your characters have when played, was that played from here? I can't see this.
The characters have, when played from reserve, I gain a boost.
Yeah, I can't see it on my screen. I have 2 new monitors, which are awesome. I'm still getting used to the resolution. 2, resupply. The next character you play from reserve this turn gains 1 boost. So Haven was one of the most powerful rares in Beyond. I feel bad for Axiom. Like, they didn't have shit. Never mind. Haven was one of the most powerful rare cards in Beyond the Gate. It provided both early game advantage with resupply and exponential late game power with when combined with characters that are cheap from the reserve. While we like Haven as a build-around card, we didn't like how forced players playing against it to discard it with removal to stand a chance. We believe that the updated version of Haven will still be a strong tool for Axiom Reserve strategies in early to mid-game, but its late-game impact will be much less overwhelming. With the introduction of more reserve interaction via card exhaustion and Trial by Frost, we think there are now a variety of answers to manage these kinds of strategies, and they should now find a healthy place in the metagame. I feel bad for Axiom because like they didn't really have much going for them but the Haven.
Yep.
And then they eroded the Haven.
I think the Haven's still good, and it's playable in most traced. I think it fits in some Subash decks as well, but it's definitely weaker than it was before. I think they should have made it a little bit stronger than this. This seems a little bit underwhelming. Like, it still works. It's going to give you the resupply, and then you'll get a few boosts from it, but it's very on curve now, which is, I guess, good, but it makes it hard for Trace to work still.
All right. More cards.
That's all you guys are gonna say about the Haven. That's the take. It's still so good. It's one of the best permanents in the game still.
I think it is still good, but it's now like it's not crazy anymore for sure.
This is
and with the card pool that Axiom has, I still don't know if it's gonna be great.
I've already lost to it. I'll just tell you that.
Do you think it's this new Haven Axiom Bastion is better than the rare Bravos Bastion?
Yes, because of.
Oh, do you have to tap it too? Sorry.
Yeah, you have to tap it. Yep. You only get 1 per day.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Unless next set they get untapping capabilities, could be cool.
It exists for reserve already. Some was looking; it was possible for permanents, but not yet.
I was gonna say I don't think there's any permanent.
No, only for reserve
on readying.
Yeah.
So the reason that this is still so strong is just because of the cost, and then the fact that it has resupply from anywhere, and that Axiom has so much interaction with that from anywhere symbol in general. There's a huge chunk of cards that interact with it. And if you think about it, it's basically a Tasia ability on a stick, but then add resupply and also add that it's a permanent.
It does have to come from reserve when you play it. So in that way, it's weaker than Keylon Cylinder.
I mean, technically in just that regard, but I have already played against a Traced with it, and they did just fine using it, and the game was not super close. I think they won by like 2 or 3 advances.
Well, what were you playing?
Muna, but I was playing an actual meta Muna.
I was going to say, is this a meta Muna build, or is this Kohlrabi's group hug Muna build?
I think it's still better than Kellen Cylinder, but that's just me.
Yes, I do think it is better than Keylon Cylinder for sure, and it is still a good permanent, but it is now no longer game breaking.
Yep.
And it's good. I'll give it that.
Yeah, the thing with Axiom and the thing with erratas in general is hyper-competitive people don't want to most often spend the time toiling and figuring out a new build. They'll just hop onto the next proven thing so they can continue to win. And I think that is exactly what we have seen with Waru and then Traced. With this, I think we'll see some Traceds come back. But I still hold that Axiom can be very good. It just takes a lot more work and thought, so most people don't spend the time on it.
This is true.
Oh,
If it's hard to build, people
Cole.
don't want to build it.
If it's not hard to build. If it can't be consistent, people don't want to play it. It's a consistency thing. But let's move to Foundry Armorer, all Bravos unique. Jellyfish, all uniques. And Garrick. This is done so weird. I want to know, well, maybe it's different in French. Because it's okay, so it's Foundry Armorer, comma, all Bravos uniques, comma, Jellyfish, all uniques, and Garrick, comma. Never mind. Garrick is reserved duelist. Just looks funny when I look at it because it should be like, this should be a thing, but it's not. Go look at the article and see if your grammar nerd comes out in you. Mine did. We found the errata for most of the unique cards currently suspended, Foundry Armor and Garrick Revered Duelist. Moonlight Jellyfish is still being worked on. We are now thoroughly testing the errata to ensure the integration into upcoming sets and their proper deployment on our digital platform. Foundry Armor, all Bravos uniques, Moonlight Jellyfish, all uniques, both factions, and Garrick Revered Duelist, all uniques, both factions, are still suspended. These were all cards that, like, not boosted, but triggered on themselves, right? If I remember
These
correctly.
are ones
And are removable.
Yeah, these ones were ones that had potential for loops.
Like infinite
and
loops?
or infinite loops, yeah. So
All right.
I'm sorry, Felix, you still have to wait longer.
Yeah, I can't wait to play 3 Garricks. I'm still waiting.
All right, let's go
Already have
through the watch list. And I already see a card that pisses me off. I'm already angry. I'm going to flip my desk. I don't know if it can be flipped with the way it's set up, but I might flip it. First card up, Small Step, Giant Leap. This is Cole Robbie's doing, and I will never forgive him. Ever. Small Step, Giant Leap is a powerful card in the metagame, warping a lot of Ysmir decks around the ability to close out the game in a trivial manner on the last day. It's an iconic card and ability, but is frustrating to play against due to the lack of interaction. Furthermore, Small Step proves to be very prominent and unfun in our 2v2 game mode. We also believe that Small Step plays a key part in Afanis' current performance, combined with the non-interactive gameplay experience it can create. We've decided to add the card to the watch list. This is bullshit.
What part of it do you think is bullshit?
You shut your dirty mouth, Dexter.
What part of it do you think is bullshit?
The fact that I want to play it.
So I agree that it should not be all versions. I think the common Small Step, Giant Leap is bad for the game right now and is too good for specifically Afanis. I think the rare is not run in really any Afanis decks, and it is not a problem in Lyra, but the common is a problem. I would think that the common should be watched and errated in some way, but the rare should stay.
You know what? I need you guys to hunker down and actually start playing some Altered in the next couple weeks. And then you'll...
Do you think Finn is abusing Giant Leap?
Bro, the use of Small Step in Lyra has increased a lot over the last 2 weeks.
I can't say that he's wrong.
So...
And the reason I can't say he's wrong is because I might have added it to my Fen.
Yeah, so Fen... What's interesting about the Lyra decks that use it is they usually don't run 3.
No.
Yeah.
They'll usually run like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
I run 1,
So-
but that's neither here nor there.
The issue with Small Step in Altered is it doesn't really fit in the type of gameplay because there's, like it says, there's 0 counterplay. There's nothing you can do.
Unless you double Isatok or what's it called? Celebration
Will
Day.
of the Wisp or Celebration Day, yes, which doesn't really work. But it's not like Magic or something where you could counterspell or you could have a follow-up. I had the most amazing idea for Small Step Giant Leap. Are you ready for this?
I'm sure
No,
it's
but go
something
ahead.
bad, but go ahead.
So leave it as is, but change it to where it can only win the game after all stats have been compared. Because
That's
I
overkill,
think
That makes it not useful anymore.
Oh, so you just want a free win for no reason?
Yes, I do.
That's the point of the card.
I dealt with
Okay, then
Waru's
just delete
bullshit
it.
for like a year. I want my
It was only like 3 months, Wookie.
well,
And
whatever.
they got rid of Robin Hood too, so now Small Step can go. It's had much longer.
I want my free wins in a faction I enjoy playing.
Well, you better start playing then.
This hurts my heart, but I understand. It's one of those things where I understand it. Fine. The next card I feel a little targeted by. Not gonna lie to anybody. Helping Hand. Ysmir watch list, or it's the Ysmir rare.
Mm-hmm.
Helping Hand is a very powerful spell in a Faunus decks. The cost of 1 mana, it gives players an after you, 2 boosts on a character, and the ability to remove fleeting. While it proves powerful with seasoned characters, as observed in Bravos decks, Helping Hands also synergizes with Kadagirian, Mage Dancer, in Ysmir decks, drawing cards with its rare variant and offering even more card advantage with its unique variant. I don't have a unique variant. Shocker, I know. The card also allows Faunus players to continually replay powerful uniques over multiple turns. This is further enhanced by the ability to return a spell from your reserve to your hand that is present on a variety of Ysmir uniques. This ability allows a player to loop Helping Hands and the unique, creating a gameplay pattern that can be frustrating and hard to interact with.
Yeah, this card's just too good, and if you want to blame anyone for this one, you blame the people that purposely found ways to make it so that they can load 25 cards in their reserve and just keep playing through them using things like this, so you can blame them.
25 cards in reserve? How does
It's
that
not
happen?
quite 25. He's being a little dramatic there.
I wish I was.
Unless you've seen it, then
I have seen
I've seen 5 before. 25 is stretching it.
Oh, I wonder if I could find it.
they
There
must have
are-
better uniques than me. That's what I can say about
They
that.
do.
Yep, it was a newer archetype that popped up in the last month, and the reserve would literally go off the screen, and the players playing it could almost not even click to find what card they needed, but they just needed to find the right ones to cycle through. I think Auroch found a way to do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
How
All
do you
right.
get that much card draw?
There's ways. I've never seen 25. I've been up to 7.
Would all of their uniques have, like, after you play a card, resupply or something like that?
Well, there's things like that, and then there's when you play a spell resupply, you got to think there's a lot of discount
play
the next
something, return a spell.
spell. Yeah. So if I can find a picture of one of the ones, or I can find one of the decks and find the player, I will send you a picture.
That's cool.
All right, more Ysmir hate. Actually, almost all the cards on the watch list are Ysmir. Actually, all the cards
Yep.
on the watch list are Ysmir.
Not all of them.
Which one isn't?
The Baba Yaga and Orders
it's
Attorney.
out of faction. Yeah, okay.
Out of faction, yeah.
Scroll down. Got it. All right, so
Orders Attorney also out of. Yeah, ironically, isn't Baba Yaga's originally Izmir, and
Yeah.
isn't Orders
Yeah.
Attorney also an out of faction in Izmir?
It is out of faction into Ysmir. Yep. They are now realizing that Ordis and Ysmir are overpowered.
can't I have anything nice? I guess the answer is no. But Kidigiran, Mage Dancer, especially in its rare form, is versatile, offering stats, card advantage, and priority passing at low cost. Combined with a Faunus and Helping Hands, even in its common version, can repeatedly output huge amounts of stats at low mana cost. This is
Yep.
true.
It's a good card. Helping Hand and Katagir and Mage Dancer definitely make a Fauna sing and get way too much stats.
I feel
Get
like
rid of them.
I feel like you can get rid of one of the. Well, let's.
Probably the helping hand
It's
because
gonna
it
end up
removes
being
the fleeting.
I was gonna say it's gonna end up getting rid of
And
the
it's
helping
really
hands.
cheap. The amount of cards in Izmir that return cards from reserve to the hand in uniques combined with helping hand is pretty absurd.
Don't say that. They listen.
Honestly, I think I'm kind of surprised that they didn't put Off You Go on this watch list too.
God, Dexter, don't give him any more ideas. What are you doing?
I think because Off You Go is basically a card that without some of these other interactions, you can really only use once effectively. Kind of like Beauty Sleep.
But not in Ysmir because you can get it back.
Because they have Flamel and all the uniques that return shit.
That's exactly what I just said, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Must have missed that
because on paper, it's weighted to only be really played effectively on the front end. So it's all these other interactions of picking up spells, drawing cards, things like that that make it easier to play.
I think that's when I won a sealed one time playing Izmir and Lyra because I can use the Ouroboros Inkcaster with the helping hand. It was the exact same loop.
Yep.
Because if you think about it, the Mage Dancer rare also draws you a card.
Yes.
And if you're keeping out characters longer, boosting them up from playing a spell, things like that, drawing cards, returning cards, it's a lot easier to not have to pay the 4 on the back end for Off You Go, when on paper, it should be like Beauty Sleep, where you really only play it from hand and then get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, my nightmare ends after this. Baba Yaga, Ortis out of faction, and Ortis Attorney rare. Despite Ozma's suspension, Sigismund decks are still able to play a very low curve thanks to powerful draw engines such as Baba Yaga and Ortis Attorney. While these cards are less powerful than Ozma was, they still display high win rates and are included in almost all Ortis decks, narrowing down deck building strategies. Yes, I mean I can't disagree with. I actually can't disagree with any of these. It just hurts my feelings a little bit.
I encounter more Baba Yagas than Ortis Attorney, ironically.
I mean, Ortis
Baba
Attorney
Yaga
is kind
good,
of.
but I don't think Ortis Attorney is that good.
It's been there since. I mean, it's been a staple since the beginning. Maybe not the rare version. Yeah, the rare version.
I think these two, honestly, I could see not getting a change, because that's another point of the watch list that they call out, is it could mean nothing. While, yeah, I don't know. I think if you're not able to pick up Baba Yaga a ton, I think she's a fine card on paper. And then Ortis Attorney, I think for the most part, is fine. I don't think it's too strong.
I just get a little upset. It's just like I keep reading them and it's like, fun? You like fun? Have none of it. We're suspending them all. But I have to calm down. I'll sit back down.
I think this is great.
I'll sit back down on my spot.
I agree with all
you're
of these
not playing
choices.
Ortis anymore. Or you're not playing Ysmir either. Aren't you playing
I'm playing
Bravos
Muna now.
Are you playing Muna now?
Tasia.
Oh,
Yep.
so you've joined the dark side of no fun, huh?
How is that no fun?
I don't know. I've never played
It's
Tasia.
less winning.
It's the humble faction for the humble man.
That is true.
Oh man, it's less
He
winning.
doesn't play humbly.
Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, I still play Fen, so that's a thing. So I got hit kind of twice. At least I feel hit kind of twice.
How did you get hit twice?
I because of the one
It was just a small step, right?
Yeah, it's the small step hits my Lyra deck, and then they're like, hey, did you have fun over on Ysmir? We're getting rid of all of it. Like, that's how I feel right now. They're like,
Yeah.
oh,
I mean, Ysmir is fun, but it's too good.
did you buy a whole bunch of Ysmir stuff? Oh, yeah. We're getting rid of all of it now. I don't regret my purchase because, like, I didn't go buy any, like, crazy uniques or anything, you know, but it's one of those things where it's like, man, just built this deck. Son of a bitch.
It's a good thing that they're not getting rid of anything.
You can still play with them for a while until the next
This is just the watch list of that update.
Just a watch list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mage Dancer just removed the draw card from a rare. Helping Hand maybe bump up the cost, or just remove the fact that it removes fleeting.
What's even crazier is, like, I haven't even received these in the mail yet. That's what's nuts about this. Like, I was like, yeah, I really like this. I'm gonna buy it, and so I bought it. You know, and again, like, literally, like, the bulk of a majority of altered decks, they're not. I think it was like $57-$60, we'll call it. So it wasn't like, oh my god, my life is ruined. But it was kind of like, man, I just bought all these. Yeah. And they haven't even come to my house yet, and they're looking at just ruining my life. Like, what the hell?
At least you didn't buy 3 Keyforge decks that are all shit.
Well, I can't even explain you. Like, that's just bananas to me.
That does not make sense.
And you even bought the good set, and you want to know what's funny? I bought 1 Keyforge deck this week, right, to play in my local sealed.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go find it. You want to know what its score
85
was?
cents.
No, higher.
Oh god,
93,
92.
Nice.
I was just
Is it good?
It does a thing. I'll share.
Let me see this deck.
I'll share it with you afterwards. But it's just, and then I'm like, how does Cole buy
open
3 of them
and get
just
60s every time?
Like, and not only that, like, he doesn't even get, like, the fun houses. He got all the trash houses in 3 decks. It made no sense to me.
Yeah, that's just my life.
Yeah.
The uniques on the watch list, though, are all the ones that you would think.
Yep, uniques with repeated abilities. Some uniques have abilities that are very easily to repeatedly trigger. This isn't always an issue, but some can lead to unhealthy gameplay matters. The ones we've identified, token producing, uniques with, and again, it's the same thing. They're just easily repeatable. Multi-anchoring and resupply loop. These uniques combine with cheap cards to create insurmountable amount of statistics, cards played, or card advantage. This isn't fun to play against, and therefore these cards are added to the watch list.
I think anchoring is definitely hitting a stray here. I don't think it's anywhere near.
Nope. Your little Muna boys are getting hit too.
I mean, I won't, because I don't have uniques that are this good.
Same.
But they're a lot more rare, and it's very infrequent that you see them be, like, out of control. Whereas token uniques and resupplying loop uniques can be insane, and you're way more likely to come up against especially token producing. But the people that want to play the other side of the coin complain about the anchor on the other side.
So let this be a lesson to all of you. If you don't want cards you like to be added to a watch list or banned or something silly happen to them, just start with the shittiest faction, and eventually you'll work your way up.
I thought you were going to say don't play them.
Exactly. Don't play them. Play the other factions where you don't need to.
You know, to be fair,
it's pretty hard to look at.
Yeah, to be fair, I haven't really gotten hit too hard in Lyra yet. Just the one thus far. So, you know,
I got massacred with Waru.
I
That's-
I don't want to say massacred. They murdered you.
That's what we call karma. Karma. So I weird how you misspoke that. It's called karma. But that's really gonna do
Get
it.
the watch list. I'm surprised Helping Hand never had fleeting. To me, that card screams that
The
should have
card
had fleeting.
itself should have fleeting, yeah. And cost more than
Wait,
one.
Which
It's
one?
ridiculous.
Helping Hands?
Helping Hand.
Oh. But isn't that like Ysmir's Jam? Like cheap spells that do a thing?
But a cheap spell that gives a boost, removes fleeting, and you get a Faunus trigger off of it, and it costs 1.
Yeah.
Seems a little bit ridiculous.
Why?
Because if you compare it to a spell in
No, sir.
another faction,
I know why.
all it does is give a boost.
Yeah, I know why. I just don't. I like my cards to be meaty and do lots of things and stuff. That's just me. Like, you don't have to agree with me. I'm just a dude who sits here and likes to play casually, but build the overpowered stuff. So that's all me.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Cole fails again. What'd you fail on?
I keep saying I'm gonna do like an intro lore tidbit so that we know.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is I want to read it and I want to summarize it so we're not just reading a big long thing and I still haven't done it. I'm blaming it on me not feeling amazing this week.
Hey, that's perfectly okay.
I put in Aloe for you to read, and
I have had a bank audit all week, so that's a fun thing to do.
A bank on it?
Yeah, it's where the bank comes in, because technically,
audit.
Yeah, audit.
Okay.
Because technically, I am a financial institution, even though I'm not really. I'm technically considered a financial institution, so I have to go through these audits. And it's a nice big long one. And it's taken all week. And I'm tired. But let's talk about aloe vera. First off, it says moisturizing every day is essential. You win, Spike. I tap into the bits of mana he gathered along the way. Yeah, I know, buddy. Scanning the surrounding areas, I spy a place where the terrain might be a good fit. It's a little basin nested in between large rocks and well placed to shelter us from the wind. Then I imagine a natural pool surrounded by little waterfalls with sulfur-tinged water and nice temperature. Not too hot, not too cold. Drawing on the mana, I materialize my illusion, superimposed into the world. With help from the skein, I embedded it within reality, so the onsen will stick around long enough for us to enjoy it. I let out a long breath. Spike is already rushing to the hot springs, being careful to avoid the snowbanks. He dives in and does a cannonball before coming back to the surface to splash around. I feel him tugging on our bond, on my alterations power. Such a kid. Of course, there's still something missing here. I call little Vera from my mind, and the graceful plant appears. Not far from the pond, delighted to see her playmate again. She sinks her long, slender legs into the steaming water, and Spike motions again and again for her to join him. I watch them play in the water like children, while fog settles in around us, as warm as cold temperatures collide. I keep watching on the surroundings. The rocky terrain might be harboring any number of unexpected dangers. Suddenly, I notice Spike has come up to me. Pouting, he then implores me with his eyes. Oh, really? It's that important? He nods vigorously, and I eventually give in to his whims. 2 iced teas for 2 rascals. Arjun is the narrator there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, give us a
Seems
summary.
interesting to me that Spike would be swimming. It's a cactus. Cactuses don't need water, right?
Well,
that's the whole point.
They need water, but they're just incredibly water efficient.
Yeah. So Spike doesn't have to take in the water.
He might just like the heat too. He's a cactus in a cold area.
Yeah.
Don't you think he'd be like, oh, the heat. I like heat.
Sure.
right? That's how I got it.
That is one of my favorite cards based on the art. It is actually a pretty meta-relevant card as well.
Yeah.
If you've never seen the aloe vera art, it's basically what was described. Cute little aloe vera plant sitting on a rock formation, sipping an iced tea, just chillaxing.
The unique art is super pretty,
I don't know if I've ever seen an aloe
but
vera
all
unique.
unique aloes suck.
Yeah, they all lose the the anchoring ability.
Does
Huh.
my unique lose the... Let me look at mine.
I'm gonna say I do not know, to be honest with you.
Here, I'm gonna look through and see if I can find any good aloes.
Did you guys notice when I posted all my uniques to see about trading, I did not post any of my Muna ones?
You
I didn't
rascal.
notice that.
I think I actually traded away my aloe. Did I give it to you, Felix?
You did not.
I don't know what I did with it, but that means it wasn't very good.
Oh man, that's rough. But we go into our Patreon questions today. If you were a card, what would your ability be? Anybody want to
It
go
already
first?
exists.
Oh, it already. What's your card?
Garrett.
Okay.
He
Let's-
loses fleeting. He can never gain fleeting. He just gets boosts.
Let's see.
You're
Dex.
keeping the same ability, not changing anything?
No, I just need a 0 statistic so I can trigger everything.
Dexter, what's your card?
I have no idea. I have no idea what ability I would even want.
What ability?
Can I be a spell to like kill opponents' cards?
Kill opponent's cards?
Why do you want
Yeah,
to be
just
so
murder
violent?
them.
Dexter's
them
just
from
a
the game.
gun.
Forever. Purge them.
You're gonna create a new pile on the playing board?
Called
Yep.
deceased pile.
Discarding is not good enough. It must be removed from the game entirely.
For the rest of the game.
Dexter is too Texas. He's just
Shred it.
literally a Glock.
see, my card type would also be a new card type. Mine straight up would be a counter spell. And I don't even know like how that would be played. It would have to create a new card type
Probably be an Ordis or an Izmir card.
that just says stop doing whatever your opponent's last thing was. Or it could just be a straight up counter spell. Tap 2 mana. Just no. Counter your opponent's last spell. Send it to I think maybe just flat out getting rid of it might be too much. So maybe like send it to reserve. That way it's playable. I mean, if it were me, it would be just, goes straight to the discard pile. Have a good day.
Yeah, I
I
mentioned
like the fact you said spell, so it doesn't hit characters.
Well, okay, counter your opponent's last character or spell.
Then it doesn't hit permanents.
We can add that in there. We can add that in there.
So I had an idea earlier, and I think it would actually fit into how Altered is played.
Okay.
A 2-cost permanent that just eats a spell. So
That's
you tap,
not Kohlrabi. Kohlrabi's would be like a 1-cost 1/1/1 that gives 1 boost to everything on the board.
It makes your opponent draw a card.
Yeah.
This is not my card. This is just my idea for a version of counter spell in Altered. But basically, if you put it out, it's 2 mana. If someone casts a spell and you want to counter it, you tap it, and then it blocks the spell and goes to discard.
See, I imagine a Kohlrabi spell being something like a 1-cost 1/1/1. All characters in play gain 1 boost. each opponent draws one card. If you have one or more opponents draw a card this turn, you get to create a 5/5/5
Anchored dragon.
anchor drag. Yeah, something like that.
So I technically already exist on a card, but I don't know where I have it. Citrus Frog made it, but I also recently made. I think I actually made a card of myself too as a meme, but I don't have it in my downloads anymore. I don't think. If I find it again, I'll post it in the Discord. But I made a card that I would like to see in Muna, and I feel like this actually is fitting for me. So it's the Beanstalk. So when I would gain one boost, I gain 2 instead, and then from anywhere it gains anchored.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't know if that might be a touch broken. I'm not sure.
Yeah, seems pretty good. Throw some Chirons and Nurtures and Sows. Gets lots of boost.
It's definitely a Taja card.
And it's anchored when played
Yep,
from
I like it.
anywhere.
I made it strong on purpose.
Oh, okay.
But I think honestly, it being in Muna makes it not too strong. The common does not gain anchored at all. from
Oh,
what I
just
made.
the rare does.
Yeah.
I was like, man, so I'd have to deal with this card for ever? Like, it just never goes away?
No, because there's no helping hand in Muna.
Gotta send in those last little digs.
I
But
wish
what if you have 2 spindles on the board and you have a whole bunch of resupply stuff and you keep using discard triggers to re-anchor it?
then it's worth it. We deserve it.
You deserve it. Alrighty. All right, Cole. Tell us about all our nice events that are coming up.
All right. We have your Ace. We have your AWOL. We have your AQZ. We have your NUC. Those are all the online tournaments that are happening weekly. You can find them around all the places online. Ace is our event that we run single elimination weekly on Sundays at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. You get points for the season. We have a leaderboard in the Discord, so if that's something you're interested in, hop on there to do that. And then Aegis has announced their Tumult, and it is up on the website, and it is April 26th at 2 p.m. in Houston, Texas, basically.
Nice.
Rooted
Nice.
Games is setting up theirs whenever they get the okay. So we're gonna have 2 tumults in Houston, Texas.
Yep, just waiting on when he gets the date, and it'll be on the website.
Alrighty. And then Cole would like you to all play more Axiom. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, go over to YouTube. Or here. Here's fine. Wherever here happens to be for you. Hit the subscribe button. We're on our quest to become the 56th best content creator for Altered. Maybe we can get something cool this spoiler season. I gotta imagine that's coming up soon, no?
I haven't heard any.
I mean, we're, 2 months out? I feel like 2
Yeah.
months is the right answer.
June 6th is when the set releases.
June 6th. Oh, wow, that's further out than I had planned. I
we
figured it'd be
have
the end of May.
We have some spoilers, but they're the very, very tiny tidbits and whatnot. I don't think we will be in full spoiler season until maybe middle of April.
Yeah,
Who
I mean,
knows?
if that would be right. Yeah, man, that seems really far out. I guess it's not, because it was end of January, February, March, April. I kind of thought it would be the end of May it would be coming out.
Yeah, technically, if you go off of pre-releases, it will be out end of May, but official release is the 6th.
So make sure you do all that for us. We greatly do appreciate it. Leave your comments so Cole Robbie can answer them over on our YouTube page because I forget that we have one most of the time. Does it show up as the channel, or does it show up as you when you answer?
Well, before you made me a manager, I had to go sort and look through and see if there were comments. But now I'm a manager, so it comes from the channel. But
Nice.
It's always me.
Nice. It is always him. I pop in there every now and again. But I always forget that there's a YouTube channel that I don't want to say exists, but we upload there too. Because we really don't do a ton on the YouTube yet. We don't do a cool like video or anything. Maybe one day I'll just be like, I'll tell Cole Robbie to give me his footage from whatever he's recording and we'll put something in the background. It is just a stagnant photo right now, but we're not that cool.
Yeah,
Not
works.
yet. One day.
You can listen there, and people leave comments, and I look at them. So
Yep.
it works.
It works completely fine. We want to thank Mr. Felix for joining us again.
It was fun.
Always a pleasure to have him on. And with that being said, we'll see y'all next week.
And I'm never slowing up, but I'm never in a rush. So I'm always taking time when they tell me hurry up. Like, chill, son. Like, 5 more minutes. I gotta find the right place to rest my sentence. And I don't even think that I'm gonna finish up until I get the cheese effortless like a dentist. Mirror, mirror, tell me how it is. I don't go to work, I talk to the kids. So, hi ho, here I go. Like DJ Cool, I clear my throat. Mirror, mirror.